On paper, the sailboat market looks healthy. Marinas are full, listings are active, and asking prices remain high. But beneath that surface, a quiet divide is forming. Some boats change hands with ease, while others remain stuck for years, costing owners thousands in annual fees. The true split is not about boom or bust. It is about which side of this divide you will end up on. What invisible forces are filtering the winners from the stranded, and why has no one sounded the alarm? A recent sale in the 45-foot range illustrates how certain boats continue to move, even as the market quietly sorts itself. This particular vessel, a 2007 production cruiser, entered the listings with a full documentation bundle, maintenance logs, receipts for every major system, and a recent survey that left little to question. The asking price aligned closely with comparable sales and reflected not just cosmetic upgrades, but a clear record of scheduled care. Within 6 weeks, the boat was under contract. The buyer, a first-time owner with a background in project management, described the search as a process of elimination. Boats with missing service records or vague histories were dismissed quickly. What stood out was not just the shine on the topsides, but the spreadsheet detailing annual costs, upcoming service intervals, and even a folder of insurance renewals. This level of transparency made the difference. The surveyor's notes, no evidence of osmosis, rigging replaced in 2022, engine hours logged and verified, provided the final reassurance. The transaction closed at 97% of the listing price, with only minor adjustments for a worn mainsail. For this buyer, the decision was less about romance and more about predictability. The comfort came from knowing what was ahead, a clear budget, minimal surprises, and the ability to sail immediately. In today's market, boats that offer this level of transparency and realistic pricing don't linger. Instead, they move quietly, efficiently, and often to buyers who approach ownership with the mindset of an operator, not a dreamer. A 1989 cruiser, still gleaming from a cosmetic refit 3 years ago, sits quietly at the edge of the marina. The listing boasts new upholstery, fresh topside paint, and a polished teak companionway. Yet, the boat has not moved in over a year. Beneath the surface, signs of neglect accumulate. A tarp pulled tightly over the cockpit through every season, streaks of corrosion tracing the base of the stanchions, and a faint smell of dampness when the hatch is cracked open for a rare showing. The owner, now in his 70s, remembers every invoice from the last major overhaul, $40,000 spent on sails, electronics, and interior woodwork. That investment anchors his asking price, even as comparable boats sell for less. Each month, the boat racks up another slip fee and another round of insurance, now climbing past $5,000 a year as the vessel crosses its third decade. These costs add up. Brokers recommend a price cut, but the owner resists, convinced the upgrades must count for more. Meanwhile, prospective buyers arrive with survey checklists and questions about rigging age, moisture readings, and engine hours. They leave after a quick look in the bilge or a glance at the maintenance log, which thins out after 2020. The listing remains active, but the boat itself is in limbo, too costly to ignore, yet not ready for a new chapter. For boats like this, time on the market stretches out, and the divide between asking and actual value only widens. Marine lenders and brokers now expect buyers to arrive with detailed spreadsheets, not just dreams. Before an offer is even considered, prospective owners are often asked to submit multi-year budgets that account for every line item, slip fees, insurance premiums, haul-outs, and scheduled maintenance. Brokers describe a new breed of buyer who approaches each listing with the mindset of a project manager. Documentation is no longer a formality. It is a gatekeeper. Lenders routinely require up-to-date maintenance logs, receipts for recent system overhauls, and a full survey conducted by accredited professionals. For vessels more than 20 years old, financing options narrow sharply. Most banks cap their loan-to-value ratios, and some refuse to underwrite altogether unless the boat's condition can be proven with recent, thorough inspections. A maritime analyst notes that buyers are increasingly using operator-style checklists, treating each boat as an asset rather than an aspiration. The process is methodical. If a vessel's records are incomplete, or the projected annual costs run higher than anticipated, the file is closed and the search moves on. Even private sellers are feeling the shift, as buyers request 5-year cost projections before scheduling a visit. This analytical approach quietly filters the market, leaving only those boats and buyers that can withstand scrutiny. The old model of falling in love at the dock has been replaced by a system where predictability and transparency are the real currency. In this environment, the pool of serious buyers grows smaller, but the path to ownership is clearer for those who can prove their numbers. On the hard stand, a marine surveyor kneels beside the hull of a 42-foot sloop, tapping the fiberglass with a rubber mallet. Each thud is measured, searching for the hollow sound that signals core delamination, one of the hidden risks that can turn a promising listing into a financial trap. The cost of this inspection is not incidental. A full pre-purchase survey typically runs $20 to $25 per foot, so a boat of this size demands an upfront outlay of nearly $1,000 before any offer is even considered. For vessels approaching or exceeding 20 years, this step is non-negotiable. Insurers grow wary as boats cross the 20-year or 30-year mark, often requiring a fresh survey every renewal cycle. If the surveyor uncovers moisture in the decks or fatigue in the rigging, the report alone can trigger thousands in required repairs or outright coverage denial. Premiums, which might start at 0.6 to 2% of the boat's value for newer models, can jump 15 to 25% annually for older hulls, especially if the survey highlights structural issues. Some carriers refuse to write policies for boats past certain thresholds, pushing owners towards specialty insurers or self-insurance. For buyers, this creates a technical gate. Only boats that pass rigorous inspection and underwriting move forward. Those with deferred maintenance or ambiguous histories stall, regardless of cosmetic appeal. The divide is reinforced not by sentiment, but by the hard math of survey costs and insurance hurdles. These are barriers that quietly filter the market long before a sale closes. At a busy yard on the Chesapeake, the manager keeps a running list of boats waiting for service, some for months at a time. He explains that the 20 to 50-foot range, once the heart of the market, now fills his storage rows longer than any other segment. Owners call to schedule routine work, only to discover that a simple haul out means joining a growing queue. Parts delays, labor shortages, and insurance requirements combine to stretch downtime from weeks into seasons. As boats sit, their listings lose visibility online, slipping further down search results with every month unsold. Brokers push for price reductions, and each cut chips away at perceived value. The same vessels cycle through platforms, their price histories growing longer and more public. The manager points to invoices left unpaid and projects abandoned midway. For many owners, the cost of waiting, including slip fees, insurance, and lost sailing time, now outweighs the hope of a quick sale. The backlog is no longer a blip, it is the new normal for the mid-market. Invoices from marina operators tell the story in numbers. For a 40-foot sailboat in the Northeast, annual carrying costs regularly reach $35,000, combining slip fees, insurance, and routine maintenance. In the Southeast, the median climbs to $40,000, while West Coast owners face $45,000 or more. Across Europe's marinas, the figure settles around $38,000. These costs arrive every year, regardless of whether a boat leaves the dock. When owners fall behind, unpaid bills stack up, sometimes leading to liens or forced storage. For boats that can't attract buyers, the exit routes narrow to donation to marine charities, indefinite storage in back lots, or quiet scrapping. There are no public tallies, only the silent paperwork of transfer forms and disposal receipts. In the busiest yards, rows of covered hulls and stacks of past due notices become the evidence. The divide is not just a theory. It is written into the ledgers and the growing list of boats that never return to the water. Today, more than 60% of used sailboats that are over 20 years old linger unsold for a year or more, filtered by rising costs and maintenance realities. As this silent divide widens, the future of sailing hinges less on dreams and more on who can afford to keep moving. What is your perspective?